Yeah, so folks, you can start.
Okay, hi everyone. I hope you can see us and see my screen as well. My name is Rk Menon, and I am a PM on the SharePoint Admin Center team here at Microsoft. I have my amazing colleagues here with me, teammates Karthik and Sonia, who are going to be talking about the latest and greatest for security and compliance during the latter half of the session. Just quick housekeeping note, while you can stop us at any point and ask questions, we also have another colleague of ours, Eric, on the chat. So please feel free to ask all your questions on chat. We will also try to keep about 5 minutes for Q&A at the end of my session at the end and after Karthik's session, which we're going to do over the next 1 hour. With that, I would like to take you through the enhancements we've made to the SharePoint Admin Center to make your jobs as a SharePoint admin much easier. Now, there are 3 areas of investment that we will cover today. So we'll start with how you can properly use and manage roles in Microsoft 365, including the recently added global reader role. And we'll also talk about how we're aligning all our experiences to be more coherent across the suite. We will also go through the new tools that we have to help you be more efficient when managing sites. And we will also introduce the all-new homepage insights platform to help you with monitoring, reporting, and much, much more. With that, let me dive into our demos. Now, as part of our coherence effort, we are working hard to unify experiences by bringing consistent design, consistent naming patterns, look and feel to all the admin centers. Later, when we talk about the new homepage insights platform, you'll see that we are moving towards a coherent admin experience across the Microsoft 365 admin suite. So I am right now on the M365 admin center. And if I go to the roles section on the left nav, you'll see that over the last year, we've created a lot more granular roles and responsibilities. These roles enable you to see what you need to see to do your job without needing to see everything else. This also allows a tenant admin or the global admin to limit any individual's privileges within the IT department based on what their job requires and blocking everything else. So you don't have to give everyone in IT the keys to the kingdom anymore, by which you can limit the risk of security vulnerabilities in your organization as well. In fact, we strongly recommend that no matter how big your organization is, you do not have more than 5 global admins for any organization. Now, I want to show you one of the key roles we've introduced lately, which is the global reader role. Now, a person assigned this role can see all the admin features and settings across the suite without the ability to actually change anything. Now, this is especially powerful as it can be combined with other roles for more customized delegation of responsibilities. Now, for instance, you can assign any of the new admins in your company as a global reader during their training period, so that with the global reader access, they can see see all the settings across all the admin centers without actually being able to change anything. So, for example, let me show you a quick demo of that. Let's say in my org, I've got a new admin named Christy, and after she's joined, when she's ramping up, I've given her the global reader privileges. So right now she's in the SharePoint Admin Center, and while she can see all the settings, she does not have any permissions to make any changes. Now, once they're fully trained, you can then swap them out and make them into a global admin or a SharePoint admin or any workload specific admin. Now, another common use we hear for the global reader role is for your legal and compliance teams. Many times we've heard that the legal and compliance teams would want to check on various settings that you have for your tenant to make sure that you are compliant. Now, by giving them the global reader role, they can log into the admin center across any workload and look at these settings and make sure that you are compliant without actually making any changes. Now, with that, I want to switch gears and talk about all the awesome features that we're building on the SharePoint Admin Center to make your job as a SharePoint admin super easy and intuitive. Let me start with this page. This is the active sites page, and this is a list of all the SharePoint sites in your organization, along with details such as the amount of storage used, the primary admin, etc. Now, you can also click on any of these sites and open the site info panel, from where you can see more information about the site and even change some of the properties, such as the site name or even the site URL. Now, up top, we have other tabs here that give you more information about the site, such as the permissions tab, where you can see the site admins, site owners, members, and visitors, and you can also manage the site admins. Apart from this, the activity tab gives you a very quick glance into the activity that's happening on that particular site. And finally, we have the policies tab, where you can see the policies that are applied to that site. We primarily have 2 different policies that you can apply: external sharing settings and sensitivity labels. Now, Karthik and Sonia will talk to you about sensitivity labels later in today's talk. So for external sharing, from here, you can set the level of sharing you want for a site from the most permissive to the most restricted. Hey, I'm getting a bit of background noise. All right, thank you. So from this panel, you can choose whether you want to allow users of that site to share with anyone, which is the most permissive, to only people within the organization, which is most restrictive as well. Now, this is an extension of the earlier setting we had for controlling your tenant level sharing. Let me quickly take you there. So here in the left nav, sorry, if you go to the left nav under policies sharing, you'll see that we have a similar experience where you can control the sharing settings for both SharePoint and OneDrive. Take it from the most permissive, which is up top here, all the way to least permissive, which is down here. So now you have the ability to set the sharing settings at the tenant level across the tenant and also at an individual site level, which means if a user tries to share a file or any other resource on a site, the sharing dialog will check both the tenant level settings and the site level setting and align the experience so that the most restrictive of the two is honored. Now with that, let me quickly go back to the active sites page. Now I've shown you the tenant level settings and I've also showed you how to set the level of settings for each site. And we're trying to make it even easier for you to do your job. So just by selecting a site, you have a bunch of common actions up here on the command bar, which includes the sharing setting that I just said. So by clicking this button, you can quickly go to that panel without having to go through multiple clicks. Now, with the increasing number of sites in your tenant, it can get difficult to change the properties of multiple sites one at a time. You can now perform bulk actions on a number of sites. All you have to do is select the sites that you care about. Click on bulk edit up top. And from here, you can change the sharing setting across these sites, delete all of them, or even associate all of these sites to a single hub site. Now I've shown you how you can manage multiple sites at once. I want to talk about another feature that becomes a very powerful tool for you to manage when you have a lot of sites in your organization. Now, views are a very powerful tool for you, especially when you have hundreds of thousands of sites to manage. Up here in the top right corner, we have the views drop down, and from where you can select any of your views. Now, think of a view as a sorted and filtered view of this entire list. Now, we've given you some out of the box views, such as your largest sites view, your least active sites, and so on. Now, apart from this, you can also sort and filter based on these columns. Let's say I want to sort by the storage used, smallest to largest, and then I want to filter by template, and I want to see communication sites, for example. Apart from sorting and filtering, you can also choose the columns that you care about. Click on the one of the headers, go to customize columns, and you can choose the columns that you care about. Now, let's say I don't want to see any of these columns. And at this point, I can also rearrange the columns that in the view that I want. Now, once I've customized this view to my liking, I can now save this view as a custom view. So I can go to all sites and save view and type in my custom view. Let's call it the Rk's view. So now I have a set of out-of-the-box views that we've built. I also have this wonderful set of custom views that I can customize for my own use. Now you can take this a step further and share any of these views with the other admins in your org by simply copying and pasting the URL. To make it even easier for you, you can even set any of these views, be it the out-of-the-box views or your custom views, as your default view, which means if any admin in your tenant were to go to the SharePoint Admin Center and click on active sites, this view would be loaded by default. Now with that, I also want to talk about the export function that we have. Earlier in the past, the export function used to export all the sites in your organization along with all the columns. But we're happy to announce that we've enhanced this function to export the list as you see it. So this is now going to export a file which respects your sorting, filtering, and your choice of columns and give you a one-to-one view of what you have, but now as an Excel file. Let me quickly open it up and you'll see what I'm talking about. So as you can see here, give me 1 second. So as you can see, it gives me the same columns that I've chosen, and it only filters to the list of sites in the same order that I've set in my view. Now with that, let me switch gears and talk about your root site or your landing page. Give me 1 second. So the root site of your organization or the landing site is the default landing page. Oops, my apologies. Let me just try that again. Okay, here we go. So the root site or your landing page is a default landing experience for SharePoint, which means if anyone just types in your tenant name.sharepoint.com, they're taken by default to that landing page. Now, we as Microsoft, we recommend that your root site be a modern communication site to give your users the best possible experience. Now, in this particular example of Contoso, we have the root site as Contoso Classic. As you can see, the URL is, sorry, is there a question? I'm getting a bit of background noise. All right, thank you. So in Contoso, Contoso Classic is my current landing site. And if I open it up, you'll see that I've got a classic SharePoint experience. Let that just open up in the meantime. As you can see, the URL is just the tenant name. In this case, it's an M365 tenant followed by the .sharepoint.com. Now, let's say the corporate communication team has worked really hard and built a new and awesome modern site. Let's say it's Contoso brand. Give me a sec while this page loads. So this again is your classic root site. It's called Contoso Classic, and you can see it's a classic experience. And let's say they've built Contoso brand as a brand new root site. Now, now they've come and told you as a SharePoint admin, swap out the root site with the new site, which is Contoso brand. Now, for those of you who've tried doing this before in the past, you know that it involves a lot of heavy duty PowerShell knowledge, and the process is not always successful. It's a cumbersome process prone to errors. And we're happy to announce that you can now swap the root site safely and directly from the UI itself. All you have to do is select the current root site, in this case, Contoso Classic, click on the replace site button. And in the new UI, given the URL of the new site, for example, in this case, it's sites Contoso brand. This UI is going to do a quick check to make sure the site is valid. And then when you hit save, it's going to swap out the root site. So what's going on in the background? It's taking Contoso Classic, which is the current root site. It's going to change it and archive it into an archived site, and then take the new root site, which is Contoso brand, and set that as your new root site. As soon as this process is done, I will quickly reload the other tab where I've already opened the root site and show you what the new experience is like. Okay, it seems to be taking a bit of time, but okay, it's done. So I can go back to the other tab, and I'm just going to reload this page. Great. And as you can see, the brand new and modern experience has loaded with the same site URL. Now, with that, I want to switch gears again and talk to you about the new homepage insights platform that I promised earlier. Now, if you've used the homepage before, you should recognize what you see here. Now, we've heard your feedback loud and clear that while parts of this homepage are useful, this is more or less insufficient. So let me show you the experience that you have as it exists today in production. So this is the experience you get in production today. And we are moving this over to the other experience, which is the cards-based experience. Now, with the new dashboard, let me quickly swap over. With the new dashboard, we are moving to a cards-based format. And these 4 cards that you see are the same cards you had in your old production center. Hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of disturbance. Anyways, thank you so much. All right. So with this new dashboard, we hope to really save you time by allowing you to check in on your most important areas of administration at a quick glance. And we're hoping that this new homepage becomes your command and control center, giving you the most important updates and alerts that you want, especially when your attention is required. Whenever you need to investigate a certain issue or care to look at a particular issue or a particular site in detail, this dashboard can give you quick actions and directs you to the right places with more detailed information as well. Now, we strongly believe that this new dashboard is going to make you a much more efficient admin. Now, with that, let me walk you through some of the cards that you'll get from day one and how to use this new dashboard. As you can see, this dashboard consists of customizable cards, and each card has a similar anatomy. Most of these cards have a high-level metric at the top in bold right here, which is in this case, this line right here. The cards also have a graphic or visual representation of data on that particular topic, and it allows you to deep dive into where you need more details. Most cards also give you another option to do a specific action from the bottom, such as these buttons down here. And when you want to add a new card to your dashboard, you can click on the Add Cards button and quickly and easily drag any of the new cards that are available onto your dashboard. Not only that, you can rearrange the cards on your dashboard to make the dashboard look and feel like the way you like it. And the cards that you don't care about, you can remove them from your dashboard as well. Now, once you've customized the dashboard to your liking, these customizations are saved at a per user level, which means if you have multiple admins in your tenant, each admin can set their own unique dashboard, which will be respected when they log in. So let's say me as an admin, I have this view. Karthik can come in and have a different view. And every time I log in, I see my view and Karthik gets his own view. Now with that, let me talk about the existing 4 cards that are there. It's very similar to what we had today in production. There seems to be a problem with this card, but we give you the message center card and the service health card, using which you can get key insights into your tenant's health and also keep an eye out on any new messages that we at Microsoft want to let you know. We also have the SharePoint site usage card and the file activity card that gives you a quick insights into the adoption of SharePoint within your organization. Now, another area of SharePoint that admins have to monitor is your company's current usage of your SharePoint storage quota. And your job is to make sure that everyone can collaborate freely without having to worry about running out of storage. So we've heard your feedback loud and clear, and we're happy to announce a brand new card that we've built called the SharePoint Storage Usage Card. Now, this card allows you to monitor your storage usage, gives you a quick insight into your current level of storage, and also gives you a historical trend of how you've been using your storage over the past 6 months. And if you are a multi-geo tenant, we give you your usage across tenants by telling you this is the amount of storage you're using in your current tenant, or current geo rather, and here is the amount of storage used across all the other geos put together. Now, based on your history of usage, we calculate what your risk level is or how risky it is for you to run out of storage. And we take a good estimate in how much time you have before you run out of storage. And based on that, we categorize you as low risk, medium risk, or high risk to alert you that you might potentially run out of storage soon. And at this point, we also give you 2 options. We can either click on the View Largest Sites button, which takes you to the Active Sites page again, the view sorted on your storage use from largest to smallest, from where you can see the sites that use the most amount of storage, follow up with those admins to either clear up some space, or you can directly buy more storage for your tenant from this card right here itself. So we hope that this card is going to be super useful for you guys going forward. Now with that, I want to talk about another, probably the last card that I want to talk about today, but one of the most important features that the new homepage has. So in addition to all the customizable cards that we have, we are also giving you some sort of recommendations on the top of the screen. Whenever we feel that there is a feature or an action that we believe will help you manage your internet better, we will now surface a recommendation about it on the homepage. Now, these recommendations are tailored to each individual, and it helps you learn about improvements that you may not know about. For example, this specific recommendation here talks about the root site swap feature and putting a new modern root site, which I was demoing earlier. Now, from here, you can easily learn about the recommendation and click on it and directly action it from here. So I think that's about it from the demos that I wanted to show. And we have a huge, exciting session coming up at Ignite next week, where we will be doing more deep dives into features. And we will be announcing a lot of awesome new features that we've built that we'll announce there. Apart from that, we also have a booth coming up on Thursday where you can come and ask your questions about everything about SharePoint administration. And we have a lot more. Please do join us for that session. You can either scan the QR code or go to aka.ms/session/sp/admin. And I believe these links will be live from next week onwards. All right, so I think we should have some time for Q&A. Let me open it out for Q&A now.
Yeah, so I can moderate the Q&A. So I think we have 2 questions, and if others have, they can add to it. So Arshad, do you want to go first with yours?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah. So my question is very simple. I have 20 domains under one tenant. Now, each and every domain company wants to understand their own SharePoint, how much storage they have it as per their license base. And I do not, and as an IT admin, I do not want to give extra storage to any of the domains.
And
So,
by domain, okay. Can you explain what you
buying
mean by
domains
domain exactly?
is multiple companies, I would say, because
All right.
see, if you purchase license to a certain extent, that much you has to be entitled for it, right? Now,
Right.
being in one tenant, I have an issue that I cannot give more like X number of amount to another and someone X amount to someone else. Now the ID spokes will come and fight with me. So I just wanted a solution for that.
So if I understood right, you have multiple domains in the same tenant. Is that right?
Yes.
And you want to manage the quota for each domain.
Exactly.
Okay.
I want to manage it. quota for each domain. So I can tell the IT SPOC that this much is what you will be entitled for. You cannot, if you want to use more than that, then I can buy online for you.
Okay, got it, got it. So if I understood correctly, there are two ways in which you can assign storage quotas. One is, of course, at the tenant level, you have your storage quota, which is calculated based on your number of seats, and if you've bought more storage as well. The other one that you can do is set your quota at a site level. Now, I'm not sure I perfectly understand your scenario of having multiple domains, but if it is what I understand, you should be able to do the same thing by using your site level quota settings.
So I'll just elaborate more. So as Microsoft is a tenant, you might have LinkedIn in that, you might have other companies in that. Okay. So considering LinkedIn is one of the company. Now LinkedIn has 1,000 users. So 1,000 into 10 GB is one, I will get it. And over and above 1 terabyte is also divided with some of the organization at the organization level.
So Arshad, I got your scenario. I think what you're really talking about is a capability called organizational units, which is available in Azure AD. We have it on a backlog to bring it up for SharePoint Admin Center, but currently there is no domain-specific policy setting or management or administration capabilities you can do. It's at a tenant level, but that's on a backlog.
What do you recommend if I have to give the answers to the CIOs? How do I reply?
Yeah, can we take it offline? I want to make sure we have time for other questions. We are there. You can talk to us after that. Right. Next question is from Karen. Can the person with admin read only, I'm assuming global reader role, set their own view on the admin center with their own cards?
With the homepage dashboard, you mean?
So I think the active sites view, can you actually go and have your own view set up over there as a global reader role? And then on the dashboard, let's say you move around cards, is it user specific, say, for the global reader role?
Got it, got it. At the active sites level, the global reader cannot create their own views. But if you as an admin create a view for them and then save it, it is still accessible across different admins. So let's say I am a SharePoint admin, I can create create the view that a global reader needs, and then they can come in and either use it from the view dropdown, or I can share a URL with them and take it from there. For the dashboard specifically, I believe it is per user level, so even a global reader can customize it. At the same time, they're not making any changes to the underlying tenant, and that is where global reader really comes in. So as long as you can read and view anything you want, but you cannot make any changes to the underlying tenant. Does that answer your question, Karen?
Yes, thank you very much.
Sweet. All right. Okay, I think we should have some more time for...
on time? Because we can always do offline Q&A. I just want to keep the session on track.
I think we should have enough time to take one more question. We should have another 3 minutes.
All right. So I think Aniket's question, we should come back to it in the security and compliance talk. So we'll park it for now. Ravikant has a question. Can we create any custom card on the dashboard, or we need to use only out-of-the-box cards?
That's actually a brilliant question, Ravikant. At the moment, we give you out-of-the-box cards, but I would say stay tuned for Ignite where you can know more.
All right. I see someone's hand up. I think we should keep going. Rk, you can monitor the chat and we can get the questions. Okay. All right. I think over to the next segment for Karthik and Sonia.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Rk. Hi, everyone. Now that we have learned easy and intuitive ways for the SharePoint admin to configure and derive insights on different facets of SharePoint administration, it's time to learn about the security and compliance controls, which will help you keep your M365 tenants secure and compliant in an easy and quick way. So we will cover this session in 3 major blocks. Karthik, we can keep moving the slides. We'll cover this session in the 3 major blocks, starting with the trends in security landscape. Yeah. Walking you through the new security and compliance controls to your unique challenges, where we'll talk about information barrier and demo sensitivity labels, and then sharing the road ahead in the security and compliance space. We promise to make the session interesting through demos and have time for Q&A at the end. Also, as done before, we'll keep the track for questions in the chat window. So please feel free to type in your questions there as well. Now, starting with the trends in security and compliance landscape. To view the landscape of security, Karthik, we can keep moving the slides as I talk through. So is it only me that I'm not able to see the moved slides? Okay. To view the landscape of security, there are three numbers I want to highlight here: 300 million, 71%, and 40%. According to a recent remote study conducted by BCG, it is estimated that 300 million global office workers are expected to be working from home. Remote working is becoming a norm, or I should say a necessity these days, and owing to that, many organizations are moving their public cloud deployments to take advantage of enterprise-grade security that is already offered in the cloud today. Another survey done by Gartner indicates that 71% of the CXOs share their worry around risks that COVID-19 brings around business continuity and productivity to the business and employees at the same time. Not only that, 40% of them are seeing information security as a primary risk from this pandemic situation. Many organizations, executive leaderships realize that cybersecurity needs to be ingrained in the fabric of their day-to-day business, from strategy all the way to operations and customer support, and it no longer is just an IT problem. We look at 4 key pillars as we aspire to bring in new security and compliance controls to you, starting from users, devices, locations, and data itself. So starting with users, starting with users, be it internal or external, must be managed through a single control pane in Azure Active Directory or other identity providers. Especially the external collaborators' access needs to be thought through with extra caution. So when using M365, you can demark a given user as external guest user versus an internal user. You can also create appropriate MFA-like authentication policies or sharing policies for external guest users. In fact, you can do sharing policies at the granularity of site level in SharePoint, which is very powerful. Now imagine a scenario, say where you want to have a SharePoint site just for a supplier, say fabricam.com, and ensure only external users from Fabricam are allowed into that site. You can achieve this sort of scenario in SharePoint quite easily. Second, what devices the users are using to access the data, be it desktop, laptop, mobile, or in the future, their bot assistants like Cortana. We pivot around devices managed by your IT versus unmanaged devices like users' personal devices. You can create fine-grained conditional access policies at the team's site or OneDrive level and control the level of access users get from unmanaged devices, say ranging from completely blocked access or limited web-only access. That is, they can't even download, print, or sync or fully access their devices. So the third one is the locations, where users are physically located or accessing the data from. We provide much more flexibility to restrict access to your data only from certain IP addresses if you so choose to. So we know that the data residency requirements are real and every company is becoming a global company these days. For that, you can enable multi-geo for your tenant so that you can span your M365 footprint to multiple geolocations. Also, no matter where the users reside, using the unified session revocation, you can revoke all their sessions for situations like, say, someone's account is compromised or they lost their device. Lastly, information protection is marquee to stitch all these controls together. To offer frictionless security to your users, you want to tailor the security policies depending on the sensitivity of the data and also follow the least privilege principle to avoid unnecessary access speed bumps to the users. So that was a quick view of the trends shaping the security industry. With that backdrop, now let us get into the security and compliance controls, helping you to solve your unique challenges. Let me talk about a real life scenario now, which is a compliance requirement, and I'm quite sure most of you would be able to relate to. As you see on the screen, imagine that there are two business groups in the Contoso Bank, say investment banking and advisory. There are users segmented to work as investment bankers and advisors, and then there are other employees in the company. The user and information segmentation is clearly illustrated, as you can see in this picture. So, however, to meet compliance regulations, there must be barriers between these two business groups to avoid insider trading. So, for example, in the financial industry vertical, FINRA compliance requires that the insider trading should be controlled or blocked. So this means that investment banking teams and sites are only accessible by investment bankers, whereas advisors teams and sites are only accessible by corporate advisors. Well, I'm glad to share that we have a comprehensive solution for this sort of business compliance, critical compliance needs. Information barriers, in short, we refer as IB, allows you to segment your users per your compliance needs. You can use the familiar Azure Active Directory properties of users or security groups to segment your users. You can also associate a given SharePoint site to a specific IB segment so that it enforces the barrier policy. As the compliance admin now, you can establish policies that blocks communication, which includes Teams chat and meetings, and from collaboration point of view, which includes sharing files in Teams, SharePoint and OneDrive, between any two segments that you define. So this is one of the complex authorization engineering, and we are glad to bring this scenario forward to you to meet your ever-changing compliance needs. Due to lack of time, I'll not be able to show you the demo in this session, but request you to go try it out as it is generally available since June 2020. Okay, so next step is a feature which allows you to classify the data and tag it with rich policies. Karthik will go deeper on this next and show you how all of this magic works. Over to you, Karthik.
Sure. Thanks, Sonia, and hi, everyone. That was great to see how information barrier helps you meet compliance standards, right? Now let us dig deep into one more security control, sensitivity labels. First, what is sensitivity labels and how can you get best out of it for your business needs? Please excuse me. Yes. As Sonia touched upon in the security trends slide a while back, we are seeing an unprecedented growth of orgs undergoing digital transformation, and this trend is expected to continue for next 5 years at least. And that means ever increasing digital data that you as enterprise security admins would have to manage. With these huge volumes of data, you would need tools to first classify the data, as in which data is more sensitive and business critical. Second, protect the data so that this sensitive data and business critical data does not land into wrong hands. Now let us get right into the action and see a demo on how sensitive labels can help you with this classification and protection. So we are starting in M365 Compliance Center over here, and I am part of this organization, Contoso Electronics. And in M365 Compliance Center, you can configure the labels. In my organization over here, I have 4 labels configured: general, confidential finance, highly confidential, MN legal, top secret. Now let us take example of one label and see what all policy configurations these label holds. First thing, as you can see over here, these labels are completely customizable, as in, as administrator, you can define for your organization what all labels you want to, and you can give the name that you want to. For example, here I have given confidential finance, and you can also give description for your users that they will see when they are using this particular label. Next, an important policy is encryption. As you can see over here, this label has encryption applied. That means only the users and groups who have permission on this label can access the documents with this label. For example, here I'm saying like only finance team can access the documents which are labeled as confidential finance. Any user or outside this particular finance team will not be able to access documents with this label. This is awesome, right? You are able to control access on a different number of documents from single place of configuration using the labels. Next, watermarking, where we have a content watermarking policy you can give some text and this will appear as watermark in the document labels. And next, I have one more important policy, which is around sites and groups. Using the same labels, you can also control policies on sites, groups, and teams. And specifically, we have 3 policies. First, privacy of the site. Second, external user access. Third, unmanaged devices. In this example, I'm saying that any site with which is labeled as confidential label will always be private. I can choose between the site can be private, public, etc. And here I'm saying like any site with this label will be private. Second, I'm saying like any site which is labeled with this confidential finance, site owners or any other members will not be able to add external users to these particular sites. And third, these sites cannot be accessed from unmanaged devices. They will have only limited access, as in only web-only access, but they will not have full access from desktop apps, etc. And they will not be able to download the content. Again, this is great, right? You are able to control all these policies, site policies from single location of the using labels. Now, this is the configuration experience of the labels. Let's move to the user experiences and see how end users can use these labels. Now, for this purpose, I am logged into my teams over here, and I am part of this team, Contours of Finance. Here I have 4 documents in my particular team. And I can see out of these 4 documents, a couple of the documents are sensitive and they are labeled as confidential finance. Now, without even opening the document, as a user, I can understand the sensitivity of the document and I can take the decision to open it or not open it accordingly. And this first class experience is consistent across Teams and SharePoint, where you will have similar views in SharePoint document library also. Now let us go ahead and open one of these confidential finance document and see how it looks. Let us go ahead and open this document, Capital Improvement Plan. I have it opened over here. So first thing, when I open the document, I see is watermark over here that we just configured. It is saying confidential data. And next thing over here in the footer, I see like there's a label applied on this document, confidential finance. And the small lock icon over here indicates that this is an encrypted document. And one more experience here, you have a sensitivity drop down in and you can use this drop down to go ahead and see what label is applied on this document. And as a user, I can also go ahead and change the label. For example, if I feel that it should be highly confidential, I can go ahead and change it. Or if the document has no label, I can go ahead and apply the label. This is great, right? Just to summarize, we are able to open encrypted label documents within SharePoint Online over here. This is a huge step ahead from our existing experiences or previous when this feature was not there, where to open encrypted documents, you have to download the documents outside of SharePoint. Now, moving on to one more next super capability, which is search. Now, this is a confidential document that I have in my SharePoint over here, and this confidential document is about Project Matrix. This is a sensitive project in my organization, so only few people have access on this project. Now, let us search with this keyword matrix and see if I can get any results. Voila, I got the result of Capital Improvement Plan, which is an encrypted document. So it means that I'm able to search within encrypted documents and get the results. Super, right? Again, huge step ahead from our earlier capabilities to search within encrypted documents in SharePoint Online. Now, this is good. You might be telling like, hey, as a user who has the right permissions for the document, I'm able to open the document. I'm able to search for the document. Now, what will happen if a user who doesn't have rights on this document is trying to open this? Now, let me show you that also. For that purpose, let me switch to a different user, Megan over here, and she's also part of the same team, Contours of Finance, but she's not part of the finance team that this particular label has rights on. So when I go ahead and open the document as Megan, I get this error saying that, hey, sorry, you don't have permission to open this document. That means we are ensuring only the right users who have permissions on the label can open the document and can search for them. At the same time, ensuring the security. Now, just to recap, we saw how sensitive labels can help you easily classify, detect, and label your ever-increasing digital data. And second, more importantly, we also saw how you can associate labels with security and access policies and make sure that only the right users can work on these documents productively, at the same time, ensuring security. You're excited to try this, right? Need not worry, this is generally available since May. Please follow this link you will be able to get more information on this sensitive labels for files in SharePoint OneDrive, and you can onboard your organization with this feature. Now with this, I'll move on to second part of my demo, which is sensitive labels for sites, teams and groups. And for this part of demo, I'll concentrate on sites, but experience will be equally similar on teams and groups. Let me start creating a site over here in SharePoint. Let me create a team site, and let us give a name, today's name, M365 Gurgaon demo for this. And as you can see over here, as I'm creating the site, I have an option to go ahead and select sensitivity for the site right here in the creation experience. And when I click on the drop down, I have 4 labels over here: general, confidential, finance, highly confidential, M&A, legal, top secret, among which I can choose one of the label for this. Now, if I'm not sure exactly like which label to select for my site, I can click on this information icon and read more about these labels. And for example, I can see over here like confidential finance is used for confidential resources such as finance earnings results, etc. As we have seen in the configuration experience, this is completely customizable by you as enterprise admins. And for your users, you can configure the tooltips that they would best understand. Now, based on this tooltip, I'll go ahead and select confidential finance for this site over here for the demo. And one thing I want you to observe, as soon as you selected confidential finance over here, the privacy settings of the site got automatically updated. And these settings are taken from this particular label, where we set it for this label, the site settings will be private. Awesome, right? Now, the next policy that we saw over here was around external users. For this purpose, I'll use the site over here, Contours of Finance, which is already labeled as confidential finance. And in the configuration, we said that we should not be able to add external members to sites which are labeled with confidential finance. Now let me try to add an external member to this particular site. I'm using my Microsoft account over here, which will be an external user to this Contours Electronics. And I'll try to add this particular user and see I cannot add an external member to this particular site. Again, awesome, right? Where we are able to control these policies from the labels. And just to recap, we are able to set consistent policies on sites, teams, and Microsoft 365 groups using the labels. And more importantly, these labels are unified across M365. And what I mean by that is you are defining the labels once in Microsoft 365 Compliance Center information protection, and the same labels can be used on files, same labels can be used on Office clients, same labels can be used on sites, teams, groups. In fact, same labels can be used on other Microsoft products like Power BI also. Great, right? And you need not wait to try out this experience also. Sensitive labels for teams, sites, and groups is also generally available. And you can follow this link similar to earlier to know more about this feature and onboard your org for this particular feature. Great, right? Now we have seen 2 demos. First, sensitive labels for files, and next, sensitive labels for sites. And now moving on to last part of my demo, which is most exciting demo I have for today, is around auto classification and labeling. In previous demo, we have seen how users can apply labels on the documents, but as an enterprise admin, you don't want to always rely on your users to make the right judgment on security. You want to be more deterministic to know the sensitive content is protected, right? For this purpose, we have auto labeling policies. And using these policies, you as enterprise admin can define certain rules, and based on these rules, the sensitive content in your organization will be automatically detected, classified, and labeled. Now let us go ahead and take a look at these policies to understand how this auto labeling works. Here in my organization, I have 2 policies: financial credit card data, SSN policy. I'll take one example over here, financial credit cards data. And this is the policy configuration. The first thing over here, name obviously, and next thing, location. In the location, I can choose the SharePoint sites where this exact policy can run on. I can choose different sites. Here I have chosen one site for me. And the next one, which is more important, I can choose the rules based on which the sensitive content will be detected. Here I am saying like content contains, if the content contains credit card information, please go ahead and detect the sensitive content. Similarly, you can configure rules around over 100 sensitive info types. Like as you can see over here, there are several info types like different national identity numbers, national license, driving license numbers, passport numbers, and we have sensitive information types for different nationalities and all the standard recognized identities. You can use any of these sensitive info types and define the rules to detect sensitive information in your organization. And on top of this, you can also define custom sensitive information types to detect the sensitive information. Great, right? Now, for this example, I have defined sensitive rules around credit card number. I'm saying like, if you find credit card number with this accuracy, go and detect the sensitive content. Great. With this rule, the next part, obviously, like what label to apply. Hey, once based on the rule, I have detected the sensitive content. Now, what label should apply? I'm saying like, go and apply confidential finance once you detect the sensitive content. And the next one is policy simulation mode, where once you go and define this policy, we are giving you an option to run this policy in simulation mode, using which you can detect if the content is being detected and labeled as per your expectations, or if you want to tweak this policy a little bit to go and meet your expectations. So you can run this policy in simulation mode until and unless it meets your business expectations. Great. Now, just to summarize what we have defined over here, coming from the bottom, we have said that we have selected the location. We said that this particular policy, it will run in the background on all these particular SharePoint sites. And it will look for this sensitive information. For example, it will look for the documents which are having credit card numbers. And once it finds any document that is containing credit card number, it will go ahead and label that particular document as confidential finance. Awesome. Right. Now, let me just recap what we have seen in the demo for you. And we have seen how auto classification can help you with securing sensitive content, even if your users forget or neglect labeling the data. As in, like, you need not depend on your users to ensure that sensitive content is protected. Second, we are providing you over 100 sensitive information types to create this particular labeling policies and define rules around them. Third, you can run this policy in simulation mode until and unless you're confident or to run on this real data and test it multiple times. Great, right? And just like the previous two features, I know you're excited and you need not wait to try this out in your organizations also. This is also generally available. Just go ahead and follow these links and you'll have all the information to configure on how to configure the feature and how to onboard it in your organizations. Now we have seen what security controls we have, specifically two security controls we have dug deep into: information barriers and then sensitivity labels. We have seen how it works on files, sites and teams, and we have seen the most exciting one, which was auto classification and labels. Now let us see what we have in the road ahead in this particular area. Now this is just a peek for you into like what is coming in this area. I would suggest you to go ahead and look out for these Ignite sessions, our Ignite, which is right around the corner, to know more about what is coming in this area, and specifically look out for these sessions, obviously starting with our CVP session, Jeff Tippers, and then these sessions which will drill down more into security and compliance area. Also tune into our resources over here, M365 Security Corner and ODSP Security Previews, to stay up to date on all our security and compliance updates. And with this, I have come to the end of my presentation, and I'll open up the floor for any questions.
Folks, on time. Awesome.
Do we have questions on the chat?
Karthik, I took care of most of the questions, I think.